Today is Wednesday, July 16th, 2008. My name is Mark Depew. I'm the Director of Oral History for the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library. I'm here today to do an interview with Bobby Wieneke. Did I say your last name right?
Wieneke.
Wieneke. I've been saying it wrong all this time. I apologize for that. This is part of our series with the Illinois State Museum, Oral History of Illinois Agriculture. And it's an exciting series, and this is going to be nothing less than a very interesting interview as we talk about your background and especially your family's background. Bobby, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we're looking at? I know you've got a little bit of the shot of your house behind here. If you could explain a little bit about that.
Well, the house and the barn, the guy came across the ocean, our oldest ancestor that we know of, Frederick Wieneke, and he built the house and the barn in around 1857, 58, and that's where the story begins.
So this house is 140, 150
Right.
years old?
Uh-huh. Yep. And the barn, he must have built the house and the barn about the same time.
Always like to include right at the front here when and where you were born.
Okay, I was born at the Jerseyville Hospital, but I've been here all my life. I'm the 5th generation on this farm, and it's been a good life out in the country.
And the specific date of your date of birth?
1961, September 14th.
September 14th.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to have your father hand off a couple pictures to you as well, because we will get into those pretty quick.
This is the picture in 1893 of the house and the barn, and just the way she sits today.
Now we've already scanned that picture, and so people can get a look at it. But to me, it's fascinating that it goes back that far.
Yeah, and if the house and the barn looks old then, and it might be, well, it's probably 90 or 95 years old at this point.
Okay, amazing. And the other picture that we've got here.
Oh, that's.
We might have to play with that a little bit to see if we can get the glare.
Yeah,
if you can bring it forward a little bit. No, kind of tilt it down. There you go.
This is my great-grandpa, Charles Wieneke, and his wife.
And that's where it all started?
Yep, that's where it started.
Okay, tell me a little bit then about how the family came here in the first place.
Well, I guess they crossed the ocean on a boat. I found in some records it was the U.S. Germania, and evidently they settled right in this area with a lot of other people from different countries.
Now I saw on the records it said Hanover. Hanover, Germany.
That's as far as I can get to from here, as far as research.
It was Frederick who came over?
Frederick,
And that's your great-great-grandfather.
Right.
Born in 1814. Do you know when he came here?
Well, no, we looked, and that's kind of where I'm at a standstill, is what year he actually came to this. But the farm, we go back on the history of the farm, on the transactions on this section, and we can go to about 1857, and that's when his name first starts showing up on this farm.
Okay. Any idea of why he came to the United States?
My guess is they probably had a flyer going around and said free land or new land, and they wanted to start a new beginning, and over they came.
And any idea why they came to Calhoun County?
No idea, no. There's, like I said, there's on them old documents, they came from Russia and Italy and Germany, and
it seemed like a lot of the names that I saw were all from Germany. Some of them said Prussia, some of them Baden, which is also another area of what's now modern-day Germany.
Right. This family here, it shows Hanover, but on looking at the old maps, Hanover was a very big piece of land, so it's hard to tell what town exactly.
But most of them that came here are Germans?
A lot of Germans, right. In this general area. The town is Brussels, so Brussels, Germany, and and Meppen and Hamburg, and they kind of named the way the old story goes. This looks like Germany where they came from, and they named a lot of the towns after the towns over there.
Okay. What did your great-great-grandfather Frederick do when he first came here?
It's the old document says it was he was a lumberer in 1860, and I'm thinking that he was probably in the process of building the barn, and he had just, you know, built this barn, and he was probably working with wood, and he says, well, I'm a lumberer. So.
And he apparently got married a little bit later in life as well.
Right, yeah, that's another kind of a puzzle. He was fairly old, and he started a new family here, so.
When was your great-grandfather, Charles E. Wieneke, when was he born then?
Oh, I don't really know. It's that's him on that photo we showed of the farm.
Okay.
He was married and just starting his family in 1893.
Okay.
So.
Well, the date I saw was 1866. Apologize about putting you on the spot there. So, and that would mean that your great-great-grandfather was quite old when he started to have a family.
We noticed that on those records.
So what did Charles do with the land?
He's farmed it, and he had livestock, and put up hay in the barn here, and we've got several pictures of this old barn, and putting hay in, and horses. And
okay. How much land did he have?
Yeah, they had 80.
Is that how much your great-great-grandfather purchased as well?
Frederick purchased 160 with a neighbor. And a few years later on these old documents, it shows where they split off an 80. And the neighbor, I guess he had made some money and he could take care of it then.
Well, 160 acres, that would almost be in line with the old Homestead Act as well.
Right.
Do you think that was the means that they got the land, or you're not sure about that either?
No, I'm not sure. Whenever it's in the wintertime, I research, I get some leads, and somebody's got some photos, and it's after, during the summer, we're so busy out here on the farm, we ain't got time to research photos.
Bobby, I don't think you ever slowed down too much. When did the family start doing orchards then? Was that Charles who got into that?
That was Charles. He started the orchard business, and then my grandfather followed with the orchard business, and my dad, he followed. And
so would that have been in the late 19th century?
Right. It would have been the late 19th century.
What is it about this area of the country? I mean, we're in Calhoun County, and probably is worth mentioning that Calhoun County is somewhat isolated from the rest of Illinois, because you got the Illinois River on one side and the Mississippi on the other, and I took a ferry to get here, which they don't do too often.
That's right.
But what is it about this area that's conducive to orchards?
They say it's the land, it's fertile land, and the way the rolling hills, there's a lot of good drainage, and the story I heard is that the rivers, there's a lot of good airflow, that you need a good airflow for orchards and things like that.
Well, what's the reason for that?
It keeps bacteria moving, and keeps your leaves dry, and you don't get bacteria on your fruit.
Okay. I know that your great-grandfather died in 1942. Your grandfather, I think, came along in 1910. His name was?
Robert Wieneke.
Robert W. Wieneke, okay. And did he make any changes in terms of what he was doing with the land?
No, he just the same thing, orchard, and he put out some more trees, and they had, at that point, they had tractors. They were beginning. The horses were kind of out, and they were starting with the tractors, so he was able to cultivate more and take on more orchard.
So this would have been 30s, 40s, 50s?
Exactly,
With apple orchards or peaches at
apples.
that? Was there a good market for the apples then?
The apples were. They would take them down to the river, and the steamboats would pick them up. They would barrel them up and haul them down to the river and put them on the boat.
Where in the river did they take them?
Okay, Calhoun is only about 2 or 3 miles wide, but it's long, and every mile or two there's a landing. There was, different landings, and the boats would stop. And they would also pick up lumber and stuff off these boats to build houses, and a lot of the floors, the floor in this house has like a stamp underneath of it, what landing it was shipped to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the house, my winery house up there, it has a stamp. It was like Martin's Landing or Our Landing. Or
Mm-hmm. But even in the 30s and 40s, 1930s and 40s, they would be taking it down to these landings?
That was kind of going out then. This was later when they were building these houses. This was just back in the 1800s. This was mainly woods, and they didn't have sawmills, and the boards were brought in.
Okay. Your father was born and raised here as well then?
Yes, he was.
And your father's name?
Leroy.
And your mom's maiden name?
Rosemary Sievers.
Rosemary Sievers, okay.
She came from the Meppen area. We ran her family back to Germany too, and never really got any further than Germany, so that I don't know what town they came from. But
do you have an idea roughly when her ancestors would have come?
I'd say about the same time, around the 1860s.
And so she's got roots in the Calhoun County area as well.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of relation in the Sieverses. There was a big family.
I know that you do peaches now, so can you talk about the transition from what your father had, the farm operation and the variety of things that he had, and then what you're now doing with it?
Okay, my grandfather and my dad, and they had apples. And apples, there's not a big market for apples nowadays. So we went into the peach market.
Why did the apple market?
I guess because you can buy them in the store so easily any time of the year. They're Washington apples, they're sacked. You know, I was eating apples the other day. They were from Washington, and they had to be from last year. So the peaches, we're into the fresh fruit. You know, you pick them and you got to sell them right away.
So it's okay.
So they only last a few days, and we get, since this is so isolated and so beautiful, and we've got a lot of people coming in from Missouri and different parts of the state just to ride around, and they buy peaches. And
I know you're not the only operator around here who has orchards, but all of the orchards around here and all of the farmers who are operating in this area, they generally sell to a local market then?
Right. We can either sell them to the customers that are the road customers, or a lot of us put them in the back of trucks and take them somewhere to a town. Farmers market's a big thing.
Your father was in the orchard business, but did he also have some other operations on the farm?
He had livestock. He raised hogs, and my grandfather raised cattle. So we decided to something simple, peaches.
Okay. And I noticed on the drive up here, certainly no shortage of corn and a few soybeans as well. Why did the family tend to move away from the corn and soybeans and the livestock and towards this?
Well, we kind of, when I was younger, it's either a combine will cost you $250,000, a tractor will cost you $80 to $100, and I didn't see sticking that kind of money into a farming operation. And so we have a little machinery, and I thought, well, a little tractor and a peach orchard is what you need. So.
Was part of that because of the amount of acreage that you had to begin with?
Well, not really. It was the money thing. I mean, I'd rather buy small stuff and work with vegetables and fruit than, you know, have a $200,000 combine sitting in the shed. So.
Is your operation, especially the orchard and the vineyard, which we'll talk about later, typical for this region of Calhoun County in terms of the scale?
Yeah, there's a lot of small peach orchards. And then the guys like to put them on their truck, and they go over to a farmer's market in Missouri. And some go to Champaign. We've got people come down here from Peoria and get peaches.
Well, tell me a little bit now, Bobby, if you could, about growing up on the farm. You had a brother, right?
I had a brother, right. It was pretty nice. We were kind of secluded back here, so we didn't get out with the other kids, and it was, you know, it was rough going to school because we were just quiet out here on the farm, being quiet. And
but I'm sure your dad kept you busy, didn't he?
oh yeah, he kept us busy.
What kind of chores did you have?
Well, I can remember hoeing weeds out of bean fields. That was a hot job in the summertime. And the picking apples, and we picked apples when we were kids. And we would seem like every night after school, we'd have to take a load of apples somewhere, get in the truck, and then we'd have to go over to Missouri with a load of apples and deliver them.
Were you to a farmer's market or?
Well, we had a lady over there that was selling the apples along a busy highway over on Highway 70 over by Wentzville, and she would come in and she'd want to buy the whole crop from my grandpa, but he wouldn't sell the whole crop because he had other customers, and in case something would happen to the lady or the deal, you know, you don't want to have nobody else, so he wouldn't sell her the whole crop. We would just haul over there as she would call.
Your brother was younger?
14 months younger.
And what was his name?
Terry.
Okay. Is he still around the area as well?
Oh yeah, we both have the job at the same place in Granite City. We work for Kraft Foods at Capri Sun, making Kool-Aid.
The little
the pouch,
packets?
The pouch with the straw, right. We make those.
Okay.
And I've been down there 15 years in this June, and he's probably been there 20 years.
You attended school in Brussels?
Brussels, right.
All the way through high school?
All the way through high school, right.
What was it like going to, it had to be a pretty small school.
Yeah, I was, in my class when we graduated was 33, so you knew everybody.
Was it big enough to have a football team?
No, we had no football team. We had a basketball team and a baseball team, but no football team.
Did you get involved in sports then?
No, I wasn't. No, I went through the ag department. I was involved in agriculture, and when we were growing up, we really didn't get involved in a lot of sports and stuff.
You're what, the 5th generation that's tied to this particular piece of land, right?
Yes, I am, right. What
was it that caused you to decide to follow in your father and the grandfather and great-grandfather's footsteps here?
I like selling to the public and dealing with people, and the fresh fruit you can see it growing, and when you're done, you see what you've accomplished.
Mm-hmm. When you were in high school, what did you think you'd be doing?
I had no idea. I started out, I got a job when I was 15 working for another farmer. He had big equipment, and I wanted to drive big tractors and combines, and I went and worked for 2 or 3 of the big farmers in the area for about 10 or 15 years.
What'd you do after high school then?
I worked for the farmers. I worked for one farmer for 4 or 5 years, and then we went to another farmer, and we worked for him for a while. And then I kind of decided I wanted to have my own thing, my own peach orchard, and that's where I went from there.
Going to college then was never something that you considered?
No, I didn't consider that.
Well, I know, Bobby, that you did a little bit of modeling somewhere along the line.
Yes, I did. I tried a lot of things along the line, and I tried that.
What drew you to modeling?
Some lady told me I would make a good model, and I thought, well, I'll try it. And sure enough, they accepted me, and I went through a modeling school. And
who's they?
John Casablanca. I went through that school, graduated.
Where is that?
It was in Fairview Heights, Illinois. And I did a little modeling at some of these malls, Jeans West and different things.
Did you like that?
It was different. You'd leave the farm on a nice day like this, and in about 2 hours you'd be all dressed up on a runway in St. Louis, and it was quite a change in 2 hours.
I gotta believe that most of the other people you were encountering in the modeling business that weren't tied to land didn't have the kind of background that you had at all.
No, they lived in the town, and they depended on the modeling to make them money. That
cultural difference, did you get some flack from some of these people sometimes? Or?
Yes, I do. All the time. I've got people where I work, it's unbelievable. None of those people farm or have any fruit or anything, and they know that when I go home to work. And when I take a vacation, I take it so I can pick peaches or plant grapes. And they take vacation so they can actually go on vacation. And I just do it to get some more work done.
Because there's never a shortage of work to do.
If you're trying to grow a business, you're going to have to take your vacation and use it to plant grapes or pick peaches or something like that.
How old were you when you were modeling?
I was probably in my 20s, early 20s.
Okay. And I know you tried your hand in some businesses in Brussels itself. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Right. Okay, when you out here on the farm, when you got the peaches and you sell them to these markets, they take that peach, those peaches, say $10 a bushel. They'll turn around and turn them into $20 a bushel, and they'll double their money just as soon as you load them. Actually, there's been times when I've unloaded them off of my truck onto someone else's truck, and the person at the store collected the money, and he gave me half of what he collected. So I thought, why sell wholesale? Why don't I just buy a store and have my own business, and then I'll get retail, and I'll collect that extra money. We go through all the work of spraying the orchard, pruning, thinning, and the guy at the store, when you unload him, he makes the same amount of money, and he didn't have to go through any work. So I thought, well, I'll buy a store, and that's what I did.
And what did you purchase?
I purchased the Hauk store down the road a few miles, and
what was that again?
it's called Hauk Mercantile, and I turned it into the Golden Eagle General Store and made my own logo, my own T-shirts, made an antique shop out of it, kind of a tourist attraction, and we did real good on the peaches. We sold a lot of peaches there and retailed them, made some good money.
Is this in Brussels?
Yes, it is.
But you're not doing that anymore.
No, after the peaches and the ferries close down, you've got 0 people coming around. It basically, your business goes from, full blown to nothing for 3 or 4 months until things come back in the spring. So all this while, you're paying electric, you're paying the taxes, insurance, and your money you've got borrowed. It's 4 months of nothing.
Well, one of the things I did want to ask you about and get more an understanding from you, Bobby, if you're willing to talk about this, is you seem to be at this point where you've tried a couple different things, and the beginning of the entrepreneurial experiment, if you will.
Exactly.
So can you tell us a little bit about the financial challenge, more about the financial challenges of that store?
The store, I kept borrowing some money, and I got to the point where the payment per month was fairly high, and I couldn't keep up with the payments. Were too high. I spent too much money on restoring the store and that. So that's why I sold it. I had too much involved, and I just sold it all. And I sat at home for a couple of years twiddling my fingers and watching TV. Yeah, that got to be a highlight. It'd be 6 o'clock in the evening, and I'd stand straight up and I'd go, I've got to find something else to do. Yeah. So I thought, well, maybe real estate. So I started looking at houses, and I drove out the end of my road one day, and there was a sign for sale on this old 2-story. I thought, wow, I'm going to take a look at it. And unbelievable. It was built in 1863, and they just had big beams in the basement and a huge rock basement. And I thought, I can take this house, and what's a house worth that's restored, an old 2-story? Maybe. I bought it for $34. I might be able to get it to 80 or so restored. I thought, what if I put a vineyard out and a wine cellar and called it a winery? I thought, wow, now I could probably get 150 for it. So that's what started me with the grapes.
You said that you were interested in real estate. Were you interested in purchasing, or are you interested in getting a realtor's license?
No, I was going to buy houses, fix them up, and sell them on the side of my job in the city.
Okay.
I needed a sideline, something else to do.
And at the same time, you're still running the peach orchard.
Right, okay. The peach orchard is still going, and me and my dad got the peach orchard together, and I thought in the wintertime I could fix the house up or something and resell it.
Talk about the transition from apples to peaches. When did it happen, and the exact rationale for doing that?
That happened between about the time I was working for some farmers. My dad asked me if we wanted to keep the apple orchard or take it out, and I said, go ahead and push them out. And it took about 10 years to realize that wasn't the right thing to do.
When you say push them out, I'm not sure.
The bulldozer completely take the orchard out and sell the equipment and do nothing, or grain farm. So we had a lot of customers that were coming back, and looking for produce and apples, and me and my dad, we decided to try some peach trees.
Peaches, you can get to mature trees or trees that are bearing fruit quicker than apples?
Exactly. That's why we took peaches. An apple tree maybe takes 7 or 8 years, and you can have a crop of peaches second year. Not a full crop, but you can get peaches enough to sell.
What was telling you that there was a better market for peaches than apples?
There was a lot of tourists. When I was crossing the ferry, the line at the ferry was all Missouri plates, license plates, and everybody was wanting to come over here to buy fruit. And you know, there's not that many places around the country where there's a line at the ferry to get into your county to buy fruit. So that's where we kind of started. And actually, the second year we had our orchard, we had one variety that produced enough peaches to pay for the trees.
It must have been difficult, though, for a couple years, the transition from apples, and basically what you said, you bulldozed down the apple trees,
right,
to the point where the peaches are starting to come on.
It took, well, I worked for the farmers during this period. I was probably 16 or 17 when they made the call on the taking the trees out. And actually, the day that the bulldozers were taking the trees out, I was up at the neighbor's pruning his peach trees, working for him. I was still in school, and I got to know the peach business, and I got to know what varieties were tasted the best. And over the years of working for peach growers, I knew how to set the orchard up as soon as we got started.
Is it your intention to keep on a pretty small scale as far as the peaches are concerned?
Right. We're me and my dad got the peach orchard, and we don't want to increase a whole lot. You get too big, you get off to hire a lot of people, and now I'm into the wine, and it don't take a whole lot of peaches to make a lot of wine, and you can make wine real quick. And I was always the peach orchard, you'll look under a tree and it'll be full of bad peaches. You know, they got a scar on, or they're too soft, and they just hit the ground. And I'm thinking, you know, why not use these for wine? And I hate to see all this waste. So we decided to start making some peach wine. It's really good. I think the peach wine's gonna go somewhere.
Well, we're going to see part of that operation later on in this interview. Were the customers kind of picking the kind of peaches that they wanted to purchase?
Yeah, we've got people that come here, and they bring their family, and we show them where the peaches are at, and they go out there and pick 2 or 3 bushel. And I had a few people, some winemakers, come over here, and they would get 10 bushel of peaches for wine, and that's kind of where this kind of went.
When did you get into the grape business?
Well, like I said, I bought the house probably going on 5 years ago, and I wanted to make it into a winery rather than just an old house, a restored house. I wanted to have the winery, so I planted the grapes, and wine making isn't that hard. Basically, one recipe is kind of like the others. It's all the same.
When you're in the height of the peach season, how many people do you have working here?
Just me and my dad. We take turns. We'll come home from work or on our day off, and we'll pick peaches.
All the peaches are coming ripe at the same time?
No, we divided the orchard up into, we probably got 7 varieties that are, they each get ripe at a different time. So 2 guys can actually take care of 600 or 700 trees. Because maybe this week we have 50 trees ripe, and then in a week and a half we have another 50, a different variety, and then if you stage it, you can have your whole season staged in one orchard. And the people like to keep coming back. You know, they'll come back in 2 weeks for more peaches, and then you got another variety, and then they might say, well, we'll be back, you know, later on, and then there's another variety right.
Is most of your peach business then pick your own, or is it?
We have a lot of pick your own, and a lot of the truck guys come over here, and they'll pick 10 or 20 bushel and put them on their truck, and then they'll take off and sell them along the road somewhere.
And do you pick some of your own and sell them in some local markets
Right,
also?
we put up signs and people come out here to the farm, and we sell, and we sell to local markets, and if I got time this year, we might throw some in the van and go out to the city and sit on the corner ourselves.
Can you give me an idea of how many acres you've got in peaches and how many trees that is?
The way I've got them planted, or the way we planted them, 18 foot by 24 foot between the rows equals 100 trees per acre. So we've got about 7 acres of peaches.
And how much in grapes?
Right now, the last acre I've just planted gives me 4 acres of grapes.
Okay.
And there's 5 varieties of grapes.
The grapes are a little bit more labor intensive?
Yeah, it takes. I've already spent $5,000 on that acre just getting the grape plants and the post and the wire trellised up.
What do you do with the grapes then?
Well, we'll make them into wine. That's
You say you will, but you haven't gotten there yet?
I got a 1/4 acre that I've been making about 55 gallon a year. So the other there's 2.6 acres over the hill, and I've got that new acre. And next year we'll have a lot of grapes next year.
It sounds like you haven't started to sell any wine commercially, though.
No, I haven't did that yet. I've got about 400 gallon on hand, and I've got my license, 2 licenses, and I need a state license.
You have 2 licenses, but you don't have a state license?
No, I've got the county liquor license, which is very hard to get. And there was one in town, and I'm right on the borderline, and they annexed me into the city limits, so I could obtain that license. So I've been holding on that for 2 years.
But you need to have a state license to sell.
I need a state license to sell.
Okay. How much does that cost?
That's probably another $500 a year. I've already, the local license is $400 a year. And then there's a license to sell. And I just been holding those 2 licenses until I open the winery, the old house.
So that's a considerable expense. You've got to get to a certain volume before you can start to turn a profit, I would think.
Right. Another thing is that 55 gallon of wine that I'm making won't hardly open the doors. In fact, I'm wondering if this 4 acres will be enough. The peach wine is easy to make. You can make 100 gallons in a matter of hours. So I'm looking forward this year to making about 500 gallon of peach wine.
And what are you going to do with 500 gallons if you don't have a license?
I got a big basement.
Okay.
And I'm just going to barrel it up, and actually, the longer it sets, the better it'll be.
Where is this going to be 10 years from now, Bobby?
I have no idea. Well, on something like this, you just see where it takes you.
You don't have any particular long-term plan or a vision,
No.
if you will?
Not really. I'm going to build a shed with a concrete floor and line up stainless steel tanks. Where I work at Granite City, I know all about the stainless tanks and the piping and the pumps, and actually I'm a very good stainless steel welder, and when they take a line down or something, I bring a lot of the piping home, so I got a good start on my facility already.
I guess we didn't talk about your wife. We need to mention that
Right.
if we could.
She works at Alton Mental Health. She's a technician down there, and she's been down there for probably 20 years.
And what was her maiden name?
Cindy Patton, and she's from Hardin, up the road about 12 miles.
So also a Calhoun County girl.
Exactly, yep.
Patton with a T-O-N?
P-A-T-T-O-N.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to spend this afternoon then walking around and then seeing some of the house and the barn and seeing some other aspects of the farm and go over to the new place that you've been talking about quite a bit as well. So we'll kind of wait until the end we get some more reflective questions for you.
Okay.
But anything else that you want to mention before we do that?
Not really. Just, we've been here a long time, and I don't ever plan on selling the farm, and it's kind of nice to live on a place and not have to worry about it.
The roots run deep.
That's
here
right.
in Calhoun County.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much here, Bobby.
Okay.